Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I know a few of you know me. My name is Susie Bailey, though if you don't, and Kristen's become a really good friend of mine, and we actually did get connected primarily through Plexus, even though we have some other family connections and friend connections. But anyway, I'm just so grateful that you're here, and I just really want to say thank you for sharing your time with us tonight. And really, our heart for tonight is that this is just a time of education, serving you so that hopefully you will come away from tonight just knowing that much more about how your body works, how amazing God created us, and the way that it's intended to work. And then some very practical things that we can do to support our bodies so they work the way that God intended them to. Okay. So if you don't mind, I would love to just do a short poll because I'm just kind of curious what brought some of you here tonight. I know what's brought some of you here tonight, but the others I don't. But I'm just kind of curious. Are you here mainly because you're struggling with something currently in your health? So if that, describes you, can you raise a quick hand? And if you're not comfortable, it's okay. Okay. Thank you. And how about, are you just here for overall preventative health, just because you like to be proactive in your health? Anyone fit that category at all? No? Okay, that's all right. All right, well, I just wanted to give you a little bit of the reason why I'm here, what brought me to this place in the first place. And I just think it's important that you kind of know where I've come from and why I've become so passionate about sharing about this approach to health with other people. And I will just be one of three testimonies tonight. And I'm not going to go into super huge detail, but I do think it's important for you to understand why I do what I do and what has brought me to this place where I consistently share about this approach to health with other people. So it was around 7 or 8 years ago. I found myself in a place as a mom of three where the best way to describe it is I did not feel like myself anymore. I didn't understand why certain things were happening in my health. I seemed to be going downhill when it seemed like I should be in the prime of my health and life. And so I was struggling with things like a lot of digestive issues. So a lot of bloating and gassiness and swings in the bathroom going from one end of the spectrum to the other. Foods were really disrupting how good my stomach felt, things that had never really bothered me before. I dealt with very chronic insomnia. I needed prescription medications to get a good night of sleep. Very chronic headaches, frequent migraines, very low energy, just a lot of things that at the time didn't really seem to make sense or add up for me. And I didn't really understand why, especially when I go to my doctor and I'd have labs run and tests done. And he'd say, well, honestly, you look really healthy. Your labs all look great. Your numbers look fine. There's nothing to be concerned about, but here's a medication for your migraines. Here's a medication for your sleep. And I'll see you in 6 months to a year. And I thought, really? Is that, is this what I have to look forward to for the rest of my days? Because it was really frustrating. I started wondering, am I imagining these things? Am I kind of making them up? But he didn't seem very concerned. And so I dealt with that for a while. But after a time, I again just found myself just really discontent. I didn't know why these things were happening, and I wanted more for my life because I couldn't show up like I wanted to as a mom for my kids because I was in bed with headaches during some of the times I wanted to spend most of them. I didn't have the energy to do the things I wanted to do with my kids. Even them asking me to read a book almost felt like too much to ask of me. And I thought, this just can't continue. So that's what prompted me to start looking for other solutions. And it was around the time that some anxiety and depression entered the picture for me. That was where I drew my line in the sand. I'm like, this has got to stop. And so that is what started helping me look for other things that might be out there that could help, and reasons. I wanted to know the reasons why I had the symptoms, right? We can have things going on in our health. There's always a reason, right? It's not a diagnosis. Symptoms are not a diagnosis. And so that is where Plexus entered the picture for me. Very gratefully through my sister, who's a registered nurse. Trusted her opinion because she is a researcher, let me tell you. And Sarah knows because she introduced her to it. And
she asked a lot of questions.
Yeah, I'm sure she did. And so I really felt like I could trust her opinion. And I thought, you know what? The only thing I have to lose is how I'm feeling. And I decided to jump all in. And I'm so grateful I did, that God gave me that confidence that I needed to try something new. And the rest is history. After after about a year of consistently using the products, I was either significantly improved in all of those areas I mentioned to the point where they really did not affect my quality of life anymore, or they were completely gone. So that is why I'm so grateful to be standing before you today. I feel great. I feel better now in my 40s than I did in my 20s and 30s. So can't ask for more than that. So that is what's brought me here to share with you tonight. And I'm going to introduce Kristen here in just a minute, kind of pass the baton off to her. But I think one thing that's well worth mentioning before we get started is that, as I've worked with a wide variety of people who either want to just have good preventative health care or people who do have significant health issues, is across the board, I've seen through every person's journey, is that our healthcare system in the United States, for the most part, in my opinion, is a very broken system. I tend to refer to more than as sick care than health care. And that goes, boils down to the fact that doctors are very quick to treat symptoms with medications versus asking the questions of why are they having this symptom in the first place. And so, my heart is to show you that there is a different way. We can have more than just a Band-Aid approach to our health, where we're really proactive and we're really getting to the root cause behind why we're having health issues in the first place. Okay. So tonight, just to give you a broad overview, we're going to be focusing on a few different areas of health specifically. First off, which Kristen's going to cover in just a minute, is the area of blood sugar balance and why that is so important. How does that even tie into the rest of our health? Why does that even contribute to inflammation in the body? That's the second piece, or the theme that you're going to see traveling throughout this, excuse me, is that of inflammation. Everyone carries a certain amount of what we call systemic or cellular inflammation in the body. Sometimes we can see it, sometimes we can't. Sometimes we feel it more than we see it. But it's a very significant part of our health that we need to be really on top of because it has such detrimental effects on really our health as a whole. And then we're going to also be covering gut health in pretty great detail. Okay, so it's kind of a crash course on these areas of health tonight. So brace yourself. No, but you can interrupt us at any time. This is totally casual. If something comes to mind, you don't have to wait till we're done talking. Just pop up a hand or whatever you want to do. And we'd love for it to be more of a conversation too. Okay, so Kristen, I'll let you take it away for blood sugar balance to get started.
So as you can tell, I'm a teacher by day and I'm a teacher at night. That's one of the reasons why I love doing this. I think that it just fuels my passion for education and also helps with health and wellness to other people, which I kind of just become more passionate about. And I think that stems from, I don't know, Mom, I think it stems from some of your Dr. Phil shows you used to watch and or Dr. Oz and the doctors or whatever. And she would talk about certain topics and it was always interesting. But it really just began affecting me in my, probably my 30s the most. I'm not quite out of them yet. I'm still kind of young here, but when you are having 60-year-old knees at age 35, you start looking for alternatives. And when you've been through, and I've been through 2 major reconstruction surgeries on my knees, and when I couldn't run anymore, I went, this isn't normal. Like I'm young. I used to run the 25K Riverbank run and loved it. And I just couldn't do that stuff anymore. And it was like, okay, how am I going to keep my weight under control? How am I going to keep myself from getting stressed out all the time because I work full time. And I slowly started noticing I was getting more and more tired. What I could do in my 20s as a teacher, juggling being mom and with young babies and teaching, I started thinking, you know what? This is maybe just age that's happening. And then it was like I was getting snippier with my kids and just not feeling myself either. And so when I learned about blood sugar balance, it changed my perspective. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about blood sugar balance. And so what is it? What do you guys think it is? Do you think it's like glucose in the blood, or do you think it's has to do with, I don't know, just for diabetics, or do you think that it's something that's important for everyone?
all of the above.
Okay. I just set you up for success there. It is for all of the above, but I had the preconceived notion that it was just for diabetics, and that I felt like, oh, if they have diabetes, it's because they've been eating so much sugar, their body couldn't handle it anymore, and I would feel so bad for these people and wondered, how is diet fixing it? Well, that's great. That's nice that that's helping you. Well, I later learned that, that actually 50% of the adults in the United States, I have a few facts here, have diabetes or are pre-diabetic. So those type 1 or type 2. And that blood sugar balance has a huge effect on hormone balance. And that's what piqued my interest. I went, how is that related? And what I learned is that insulin is controlled by your blood sugar. And when your insulin is off, obviously you're having spikes in your sugar. And when it's doing this all day, so are your hormones trying to keep up. They're either secreting more insulin and you're becoming insulin resistant because it keeps doing that over and over again. And then that stress hormone, cortisol, is going to come in and it's going to say, I'm in emergency mode. I'm in emergency mode. And that adrenaline's going to be going, right? And so you become dependent on that insulin, and you crave that sugar. I shouldn't show you my class, but I am a teacher and I do reward with sugar. But I constantly would go in there and just eat snacks all the time because I was like, ooh, I deserve this, and it started to become a reward. And I learned this is learned behavior because I have a father that is the same way. And he yo-yo diets and does this. And, we'd heard that's not good for your heart. And so hearing that, knowing that from my life and understanding how this relates to stress, I'm like, no wonder I am all off. I'm moody. I'm getting snippy. I'm tired because I'm doing this all day. And so what can help me not do that all day? Well, so everything that you Google out there about blood sugar or just about having cravings, it does lead to gut health. A lot of it is a gut health related thing and an insulin thing and a blood sugar thing. And so the other thing that was eye-opening for me is that insulin resistance can cause things like inflammation and low energy, and it stores fat around your middle. Well, I'm not huge, but that's where my fat was, storing after having kids. And I was just blamed it on the mom tummy and the fact that I had twins. But I was running like crazy, you guys. I was doing 25 Ks up until like 2 years before I had done Plexus, and I was eating pretty well. And I couldn't figure out why I just couldn't lose some of this excess weight. And I thought I need to because my knees are hurting so bad, and maybe that will, help my knees. Well, enter Plexus into the picture. And one of the products that we're going to let you try in just a minute is called Slim. And there's a little bit of a misconception with Slim because it's named Slim. People think, oh, it's for weight loss. Well, weight loss is a side effect of it because when you balance that blood sugar, your body's doing this, and it's not going to want to reach for that cookie anymore. It's not going to want to reach for things that you would normally want to eat. And then my inflammation was going down. And so with the two combined, I naturally lost, without even trying, about 8 pounds within the first couple months. And I went, whoa, this must really have been my problem, was this insulin resistance thing. And then I added on another supplement at the time, which we'll talk a little bit about, which is this Ease. And Ease is, a lot of people think of it as like a replacement for ibuprofen or Tylenol, like a natural replacement for over-the-counter medication. And it can do that for you. But why I was interested in it, and it was a little bit, outward appearance looking at first, I was like, sweet, they say that you can lose more weight if you take this. So I started trying it, and I thought, sweet. But what I found was that all of a sudden my knees that ached all the time stopped aching. And I would only be able to go a half hour on the elliptical, and now I could go an hour. I could only walk 2 miles, and now I was walking 4. So, and then my knees didn't hurt. And I was doing like squats on the wall, like with the ball. Like I have to do like the improvised stuff, because I do have bad knees still, or the TRX bands, you know, stuff that was a little more easy on my knees, but it would make my knees swell. You guys, I was getting injections from my surgical doctor 4 times a year. That's how bad my knees were. And I haven't had an injection since last fall because I've been on these a year. And it has just really, really improved my quality of life in that aspect. But I really contribute a lot of it to the blood sugar balance and that insulin resistance that was going on in my body. And so for you, what does this mean? Well, let's talk about some issues that are related to blood sugar. So some things that can be related to blood sugar. Have you ever struggled with, well, some of these things on here you may or may not have, like adrenal fatigue, metabolic syndrome, obesity, weight management, insomnia or poor sleep is actually related to it. Diabetes and prediabetes, focus and concentration, low energy, PCOS, that would be women, not men. And then things like anxiety, depression, irritability, cravings or erratic eating patterns, headaches and migraines, hypertension. Some people even, it goes as far as your cortisol levels. I have an uncle that was on Lipitor, and he started these products and his Lipitor numbers decreased by 50 points, and he went, his cholesterol levels, that's what I meant to say, decreased by 50 points. His doctor said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I've just been taking my supplements." He's like, "Okay, keep doing that." He says, "Well, do I have your permission to keep doing that and take away my medication?" And he says, "If you come back and see me and have a blood draw in 1 month." And so he did. And he went off the medication and just stayed on the Plexus, and his blood numbers were completely normal after a month. So he had been a total of 4 months on it at that point, but 1 month off of his medication. Now he was like regulating that cholesterol level because of it was high, but he realized I don't need this. When I've got the right tools in my body, I don't need this medication anymore. And think of all those side effects he's avoiding from having that medication off the table. And so I have a girlfriend that just did the same thing. I posted about her. Her name is Monica. She's young. She's like me. Same problem. And her numbers went down. What was it, Mom? 51? 70 points. 70 points.
Her triglycerides went down 100 points after 4 months.
And she was taking, and we'll talk more about these products, but she was taking what we call the triplex and our multivitamin, and that was it. And that she's like, "I'm never going off these." You know, to know that at her age, she's going to be setting her body up, because think about her body doing that time and time again. And then she's 60 years old. You wonder what damage happens to your heart and your arteries and all those things, and you can't keep it under control, or the side effects from the medication.
And she tried everything to get that cholesterol down. She has natural high cholesterol. Her doctor said, "Well, it's just naturally
It's
high."
in the family.
And she was trying to do something natural because she didn't want to go on Lipitor. She tried the red yeast rice. She tried the omegas. She tried everything. When she tried this, 3 months later, 70 points and went down.
Yeah. So we were pretty excited for, I was like, woohoo.
She was
I used to be a cheerleader, so I was really running. So her phone probably blowing her ears off, getting so excited. But do you ladies have anything else that you want to add about blood sugar and inflammation?
It's the master hormone that you need to balance, like you referred to with the yo-yoing.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important benefit of the Slim product, besides the fact that it contains prebiotics.
Oh, I forgot about
And
that
you've
part.
probably heard of probiotics, prebiotics, omegas. Doctors will recommend that you take a course. If they're going to ever recommend supplements, those are very, very basic. And so the prebiotics in our Slim, feeds the good gut bacteria. So it's all, everything in this system, regardless of its job, is all going to relate back to digestive health. And that's kind of the epicenter of all of our health, but it does, have a lot to do with our blood sugar dips and rises. It's why we, reach for that sugary treat at 2:00 in the afternoon, because our body needs that quick fix, to get that blood sugar back up when it's kind of in a plateau. And this product balances that all day long. So that's why you have natural energy. It itself, it doesn't cause you to have energy. It supports your body's natural mechanism to create its own energy in a healthy way. You're not stimulating it in any way. You're supporting the body at the root cause, the root level to do that. And there's just nothing like it out there because it doesn't just have the prebiotics in it, but it also has that element of chromium in it, which is what balances your blood sugar.
Yeah, I feel like I've touched on mostly the chromium part, so I didn't touch on the prebiotic part, but I feel like that comes in more when we start talking about gut health.
Yeah.
So we'll touch probably back on that prebiotic piece, which I never even knew there was such a thing. And I never knew you had to feed your good bacteria either
Yeah.
before this.
Those critters are hungry, and there's trillions of gut bugs in your digestive tract, trillions. So we see them now. This is why you hear gut health more now, I think, than ever before, is because we have the technology to be able to see it. The magnifying instruments that doctors, scientists, researchers have, they now can see these cross sections of bacteria in our digestive tract. So if they're not healthy, they outrule us. We're 50% gut bugs. So if they're not happy, we're not happy. So,
I have a quick question. There's the two different slims.
yep.
Yeah.
Does the other one have a probiotics, the hunger control? What's the difference and how do you know which one you should be taking?
And the endocrinologists, so doctors that created this product to help type 2 diabetics to not become attached to or need insulin. This was kind of like a first round or first course of action. The hunger control component, so they both balance your blood sugar.
Okay.
So they're both good products to take. One has a different prebiotic in it than the hunger control. So it's microbiome activating. So that's what kind of gets all these good gut bugs revved up. The other, the hunger control, is more of it's polydextrose. So it's natural fiber and you'll notice that the sticks are quite different too. So it's longer
Is it sweeter?
and it's very dense. Because what that fiber does is it fills you up so that you're more satiated, so it controls your hunger. So if someone wants to regulate their hunger
Okay.
because they are more of an emotional eater, or they just don't have control in that department, or they just simply want to lose weight, just getting on the products to lose weight, hunger control is a really good product.
But otherwise you would say do the other.
I say do that. I always say start with this one so that you can get going in the digestive tract, all the good prebiotics from this one to stimulate the digestive tract, and then go back and forth, or just stick with this one after that. It's really 6 of one, half dozen of another. They're both going to do the same thing. Some people find a challenge in taking the fiber because there is a lot of fiber in there.
Okay.
So if you have digestive issues like IBS, let's say, where your bowels are a little bit looser, this one might be a challenge for you to take initially until you heal your body a little more,
Okay.
and then you can flip back and forth to it.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can see this.
But yeah, I can tell this is a lot sweeter.
This is
Oh, yeah,
the
one's sweeter.
microbiome.
That's what I've been trying. But she just, I think she just gave me the.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
okay. You do this how many water you should
There's a lot.
Then
Yeah.
once a day.
Kind of like the.
30 minutes
You could not take meat
because you want it to balance blood sugar before you eat.
Yep, it's the same size.
Right.
Drink the whole sleeve, so you get like a.
Okay.
This is harder to mix up.
Is it? Okay.
So I recommend you mix it with hunger control.
Oh, really?
Water,
Okay.
and then pour the ice.
Put it in
your
water.
No,
One time a day.
One
One time a day. One time a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do.
You
look
Three times a day, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Warm water
it's good.
actually-
Some people will do it
Okay.
2 times a day if they're really working.
Blood
on weight
orange,
loss goals,
lemon,
or
and
just
lime.
know that
So
they
it's
can
more of a
feel or
citrus
something.
base
Okay.
than
Really
the
want to control
other,
blood
which
sugar.
is
It's
more
like-
watermelon,
Yeah.
raspberry.
I've seen
This is,
the, like,
I think that's
fiber
a
one, like the.
Yeah.
natural flavor,
They're really
I
good.
guess. I kind of prefer this.
It gets me
but
away from drinking Diet
I
Coke.
tend toward IBS. That was my diagnosis why I started the
Okay.
product. So fiber is not my friend usually. I have to be really careful with the fiber in my diet.
So I wrote notes I'm taking notes for you. Yeah, so I know. So I feel like this is kind of how I explain it to people when they're trying to choose, is that they'll both fill you up. Okay, but this one is going to feed that good bacteria in your gut. And they both regulate blood sugar. So I started with this thinking, again, I was in it for the wrong reasons, you guys. I was in it to lose weight. And also we'll find out later I had some gut trouble too. But what I found was later on, Susie was talking to somebody and I was like, wait, what? It's got prebiotics in it? Oh, I need to do that. So I
I did the
switched.
same thing.
And my mom did the same thing. So we switched to this and I am so much happier that I have. Because it still fills me up, but I know I'm getting the benefits of those good microbes being worked on
Well,
in my
it's
gut.
not a meal replacement.
No,
Correct.
No,
And
it's
that's
just,
correct.
yeah, I mean, you're talking about fill you up. I mean,
it makes you not want to eat you go out to a restaurant, you always get way more food and you say you're never going to eat it all, but you do.
No, I don't.
Well, I do. I will eat every French fry, but this you eat it, and I just feel like you don't feel like you could eat half of your meal. Like you
Okay.
feel like, and you're satisfied. It's not like you're eating half your meal and go, oh, I can hold off till tomorrow morning. Like you're satisfied.
Okay.
So that's what I enjoy about it.
I mean, one of the benefits of having a regulated blood sugar is just appetite control, because it's the drops in your blood sugar that send a signal to your brain, feed me now, I am starving, because your body is trying to do you a favor to help drive your blood sugar back up to that more regulated state. The problem is we generally overdo it, right?
So is it
So-
a once a day dosing
Yes.
And then what time of day?
That's the nice part. There's a lot of flexibility there. So generally speaking, once a day is completely sufficient for most people. Some people will opt to do twice a day if they are pretty significant, if they do have pretty significant blood sugar regulation issues such as diabetes or something like that. But once a day is the recommended daily value of this. A lot of people prefer to take it first thing in the morning because they kind of feel like that balance just carries them throughout the day.
Okay.
But I have quite a handful of people who really do love it, and more of that mid-afternoon hour too, when they tend to get the crashes after lunch, or maybe the cravings and snackiness is coming on before dinner and you're kind of between lunch and dinner. And I do have a small handful of people who even take it right before bedtime, because because having a regulated blood sugar, as we know, is directly tied into our circadian rhythms. It's generally when our blood sugar tanks at night when we're sleeping, that's what wakes our brain up,
Right.
because it's calling out for something.
It's
Yeah,
and that doesn't shut off just because we're sleeping.
exactly.
The natural rhythms of your body continue 24/7. So
I have a
Yep.
son who can't sleep very well, and that's when he takes it right before bed.
You give this to kids.
What?
You give this to kids.
Oh
Yep.
man, yep, all four of
Yeah,
them.
you sure.
Yeah, for sure. One of my kids has to have it.
Yeah.
I have, one, and then this is a different. Sarah can relate because she's got these kind too.
Yep.
3 boys, and they all have ADHD, and one has mood regulation issues. So, I've been medicating, and all of a sudden I went, wait a second, could I give him this instead of that mood medication with all the side effects? And oh my gosh, you guys, he's like, I could never take him off this one pill. It was 1 milligram of a pill, and I was so scared to do this. And I put him on the Plexus and did it for a month. And with his psychiatrist, we both talked about weaning him down, and then meeting again, wean him down. He's like the same. There's no change. And he's doing great. And we're slowly weaning him off the next medication here after December. So I'm really, really excited about it, just because he was on 4 different pills, and he's at that age where he's growing, and a lot of that stuff stunts their growth. And it's just, so he takes it before bed because he's on ADHD medication. Some of that stuff screws with your sleep. And so, or he's just stimulated and he really wants to stay awake. And so it relaxes him. It's really good for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So a few of you were asking about the ingredients that are in Slim, and we definitely have the label that you can take a look at. But the most important things we want you to know is that everything that it contains is all natural and plant-based. So there's nothing artificial in there. It's a beautiful pink color, but that doesn't come from a dye. It comes from beetroot extract. The sweetener is stevia. So that is also a plant-based sweetener. So just want to assure you of that. And that's one of the things I probably love the most about Plexus. I do have a medical background as well in physical therapy. So ingredients matter to me. I want to know what's being put in my body. So I love the fact that it is all natural, non-GMO, free of the most major allergens. So it's just really something that I feel confident not only giving to myself, but my kids. So if you do need to look at a label or anything, please feel free to ask. And we have all of that available too. Okay. So
And one thing I
Yeah.
didn't touch on a little bit, and maybe
Yeah.
I'll touch on this a little bit more
Sure.
with gut health, but also like I know people that give it to their kids too for skin, or if you have skin issues, I know that we'll talk about the balance of the 3 products that go with this, and like eczema and psoriasis,
Acne.
acne. It balances all of that in your system, so it's so nice.
yeah, we'll definitely for sure touch on that. Any other questions all about the blood sugar regulation piece? No? Okay. So I think what we're going to do is we'll transition more into gut health right now. And again, we're just going to kind of break this down for you as simply but as comprehensively as possible, if that makes sense. So I really, really love talking about gut health, probably because even though I know I had a blood sugar regulation issue, I think gut health was primarily at the core of what I was struggling with the most. So I just want you to kind of make a mental checklist a minute. I'm going to give you a rundown of some things that I just want you to check in with yourself and think to myself, have I ever been exposed to or have I ever experienced any of these things on this list? Okay. So have you been exposed to antibiotics, medications, whether they're over the counter, prescriptions, things like birth control? How about chemicals in health and beauty and cleaning products, pesticides? Maybe you've been on chemo, poor dental hygiene, chronic stress or worry, poor diet, whether you're lacking in nutrients or maybe lacking in fiber, excessive sugar or carb intake, artificial sweeteners, favorite Diet Pepsi, right? Processed foods, lack of sleep, lack of activity. So can anyone relate to any of those things? Maybe just one. Okay. Most of us have definitely had several, if not more of that. So now that we know those are things that we should be paying attention to, I'm just going to tell you why. Why is it that those things can definitely cause or contribute a gut health issue? Okay. But before we really break that part down, let's just talk about what is the gut and what does that even mean? Are many of you familiar with that term? Okay, that's good. So if you're not so much, the gut basically encompasses everything from your mouth to your anus and everything in between. All right, it's the entire digestive system. Some really interesting facts about the gut microbiome is that it really functions a lot like a garden. So Sarah had touched on this a little bit already. We have good bacteria and bad bacteria in our gut, to keep it simple. Okay. I want you to think about the good bacteria like the plants that you would want to grow in a garden. Okay. And then the bad bacteria I want you to think of as being like weeds. And so those are the things that we need to keep under control, or we really want to pull them from the root and just get them out, because they obviously affect the growth of good plants, right? They can crowd out the nutrients that they need to really grow and thrive. And then some of them can also contribute to seeding and causing other things to grow in our garden that we wouldn't want to. So it's really important that we think about the gut. We're talking about feeding and fertilizing those good bacteria or the plants that we want to grow. So that's why Sarah touched on the prebiotics. That essentially is like fertilizer or food for the good bacteria that you want to grow and thrive. Okay. And then it's also essential that we are weeding out the bad type of bacteria. Even things like yeast and fungus, those types of things can cause a lot of trouble in our gut. So it's important that we're weeding those things out. So you're probably not going to believe this. I couldn't when I first heard this, but our gut actually is about 27 feet of real estate in our body, 27 feet long if we were to stretch it out. So it starts to be easy to understand why it has such a huge effect on our health. Okay. Other things about the gut, it's often referred to as the second brain. It is actually the only other organ in our body, apart from the brain, that can boast its own independent nervous system. So there's just an amazing network of about 100 million neurons that are embedded in our gut wall. So it's just an incredible, incredible system. And that's why it contributes to so many things in our health. But also, our bacteria in our bodies outnumber our own cells 10 to 1. So technically, we are more bacteria than we are made up of cells. But most of those bacteria actually make their home in our gut. Okay. Let's talk about just a few of the functions that gut bacteria play in our health. Many, many more that I'll mention tonight. But some of the major ones are obviously they regulate digestion. They also help regulate metabolism. They can actually extract and they can actually make vitamins and other nutrients just from the foods that we are eating. They can also do things like programming your body's immune system. Did you know that your gut is responsible for over 70%? They're probably calculating closer to 80% of your body's immunity. Huge deal with everything going on around us. It is just vital that we are taking care of this part of our body. Okay. Gut bacteria also, they can even build and they can maintain your gut wall. And that's so important because your gut actually protects the rest of your body from outside invaders. There are things that are supposed to be encased in our gut that should not be leaking out to our greater body system. And so we're going to talk a little bit later about something that can contribute to something called leaky gut syndrome. You've maybe heard that before, so we'll touch on that in a little bit. But one thing that a lot of people don't know is that the gut also produces hundreds of neurochemicals that the brain does use to help regulate your mood, also your both physiological and mental processes. So learning, memory, mood. So maybe you've heard of the gut-brain axis. It's a two-way highway. What's happening in your gut affects your brain, and what happens in your brain can definitely affect your gut as well. So serotonin is maybe one of the hormones that you are familiar with. Serotonin is known as our happy hormone, definitely influences our mood, but also our gut activity and even our sleep. And so 95% of our body's supply of serotonin is estimated to be produced in the gut. So you can imagine if you don't have the vast variety of bacteria that you need that contribute to the growth, to the production of serotonin, your mood is going to definitely suffer. Okay. Let's see. Trying to unpack the things that are most important for you tonight. I could go on all night about this, you guys. But maybe another thing that you would find interesting is the fact that when our gut microbiome is healthy and balanced, it also helps to regulate the right levels of hormones in our body. So Kristen already mentioned blood sugar balance plays a huge role in that because of how insulin contributes to just hormonal regulation. But when our gut is healthy and balanced, it helps us produce the right levels of things like estrogen and other hormones in the body. So when we have an imbalance in our gut, which also is generally connected to having extra inflammation in our body, this can really disrupt that normal production of estrogen. It can also lead to related estrogen diseases such as endometriosis, PCOS, even breast cancer. So gut health is just something that we definitely just can't ignore. Something we need to tend very carefully. Some other things that can also be tied to an imbalance in the gut would be things that we might think are longer off in the distance for us, but there are things, you guys, that we can be proactive about right now in our health. Things like diabetes, obviously, depression, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune disorders, cancer, things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So it's just the science is out there. There's more and more research is happening every day. It's just a fascinating area of study. I could Google it all day. So if you are dealing with something in your health, I just encourage you, type in your symptoms or your diagnosis if you have one, and type in next to it, let's say diabetes and gut health, or maybe Hashimoto's and gut health, Hashimoto's and blood sugar balance. And it will be really, I think, quite fascinating to you to start seeing what the ties are with all of those different areas of health. Okay. So I just want to give you a quick rundown of some things that maybe you're experiencing right now in your health that you didn't really expect to be connected to your gut. I know for sure that I had some of them, things I never would have even dreamed were connected to my gut, because usually people think, well, I don't have a gut health issue because I'm going to the bathroom regularly. I don't get bloating or gassiness or don't trouble in the bathroom, right? Those are the most obvious things, or heartburn, things like that. But there's other things that you might not think about, such as if you have chronically, if in your labs, you're seeing chronically deficient areas of like vitamin deficiencies or things like low iron, that type of thing, that usually points to you probably have an absorption issue going on in your gut because of inflammation and imbalance. Like we'd already mentioned, the mood things like depression and anxiety. Most likely you have a gut health issue. A faulty immune system, if you're getting sick more than 1 or 2 times a year, most likely, again, you probably have an imbalance in your gut. Kristen had mentioned this. Skin conditions like eczema, psoriasis, acne, dandruff, toenail fungus, these types of things usually point to excess yeast in our gut. And so it's something that we really want to get to the root of and clear out. Food allergies, seasonal allergies, definitely can be related. See if there's anything I'm forgetting. Low energy again, and even cravings, believe it or not. I'm going to unpack that for you in just a moment, okay? So just kind of keep those things in the back of your mind as you're doing the rest of your listening tonight. But to kind of continue the education piece, to talk a little bit more about the yeast side of things I just touched on a little while ago, we're going to start to also talk about some of the supplements that can help with rebalancing your gut. Okay, and I'll kind of tie it all together. So Kristen had mentioned that there's a trio of supplements that Plexus offers. It's called the Triplex. It's probably what Plexus is best known for. It's 3 supplements packaged together for a very specific reason. And that is because when you start talking about the variety of health challenges that most people, especially United States, deal with, there usually is 1, if not 3 things at the root cause: blood sugar balance and or hormonal balance, systemic inflammation, and then gut health. So they put these together because you are addressing all 3 at the same time. And when you do that, they all definitely are interrelated. And so that is why you will often hear of such a wide variety of people with such a wide variety of health issues finding such help with the same supplements. Okay. So anyways, we touched on Slim already. So we're going to unpack just these other 2 main supplements tonight. So we've got ProBio 5 and BioCleanse. I'm going to talk about ProBio 5 first. And this is a really cool supplement. It's actually a 3-in-1 supplement. So it's called ProBio 5 because there are 5 strains of good bacteria that you would want to grow and thrive in your gut in there. Okay. Important for a variety of things like immunity, of course, mood regulation, and a lot of the other things we've already talked about tonight. So, but what's really cool about the supplement is the second piece. That second piece out of the 3 things that make this up are things called digestive enzymes. And digestive enzymes we do get some of them from foods that we eat, and our body does produce some, but it's hard to get the amount that we truly need for our body to function at its prime. So that's going to provide this for you so that you can do things like breaking down your food more efficiently, absorbing nutrients more efficiently. But probably my very favorite part about one of the enzymes in here is that it actually attacks something called Candida yeast. And just by show of hands, who here is familiar with Candida, or have you ever heard it before? Okay, so about 50%. Very normal. I had never heard of Candida before I started anything gut health related. So Candida, if you're not familiar with it, it is a form of yeast. Okay, God created us all to have at least a small amount of it in our bodies, because the only reason that scientists can really figure why we need it is to help us decompose when we die. Kind of gross, but
Serves a purpose.
it serves a purpose, right? I mean, even the bad guys sometimes have a purpose. And so we will never, ever clear every bit of Candida out of our bodies. It's impossible.
Nor should we.
Nor should we. Exactly.
We need good and we need bad to be in balance. right?
Exactly.
Can't have all good, can't have all bad. So
Yes.
need them both.
Good point. Very good point. So the challenging thing about Candida, however, is that it is very easy for it to proliferate and to take over and to overgrow in our gut. And so if you can imagine that its main job is decomposition, and it gets to be in the overgrown state in your gut, it's going to start having a detrimental effect, right? And so all of a sudden that gut lining that is supposed to be intact, keeping our greater body system safe from the outside invaders, does develop very small perforations, and that can lead to something called leaky gut syndrome. So all of a sudden, the things that are supposed to be encased in our gut system can leak out into our greater body system, one of which of those things is Candida yeast. Candida is a huge creator of inflammation in the body. The body knows that there's an outside invader, right? It's not supposed to be here. And so our body responds in terms of inflammation. That's what it does when it's hurt or it's in danger, right? It's trying to do a good thing, but it can wreak havoc on a lot of different areas of your health. So Candida is just something that we need. If you're doing anything with your gut, you've got to be keeping Candida in check. Because if you're not, you're probably kind of keeping the fire at bay, right? But fuel is still being added to the fire because of things like hidden sugars in our diet, hidden or obvious. We have plenty of obvious sugars that are available to us, so that it feeds on sugar, just like any other yeast would. Also, processed foods, carbs, certain medications can also contribute to just making our gut a very easy place for Candida to overgrow, chronic stress, lack of sleep, kind of all the things that we've talked about already in that checklist I listed at the beginning. Those things can all contribute to Candida overgrowth. So it's a very long way of telling you about the enzyme, but it's really important because what it does is it's able to dissolve the hard shell that protects Candida. Think of it like an armor. It protects itself, okay? It's very smart, but it's hard to get rid of because it's protected by that armor. So the enzyme can actually dissolve that armor, leave it in that unprotected state. And then the third piece of ProBio 5 is a natural antifungal in the form of grapeseed extract. And that's what can actually start to kill the Candida, which is a living organism. So it's a really cool supplement.
Beastie yeasty, as my kids call it.
Yes, I love that.
Essentially the beastie yeasty is slain, is what my kids say, and it really
Yes.
does make a huge difference. And
It certainly does.
it's not just any digestive enzyme, it's not just any antifungal, not just any probiotic. So you get 3-in-1. Many health food stores will sell all three together. Over $100 at least. You mean you have to get all three, but then you don't know whether or not all three of those work together. These are in one supplement because Plexus knows that it's not just about probiotic or digestive health, but it truly is. If you don't get at that Candida, the digestive health piece. So many people take probiotics, but they say, well, I don't know if they're working. I mean, I think they are. I feel good that I take it because I'm taking something I know I should, but yet we truly know that this beastie yeasty will be slain if that is one of our tools. Nowhere else out there can you get that. And that's what I love about these, again, chromium and the prebiotics and Slim, can't get that anywhere, can't get this anywhere, and coupled with the BioCleanse Next, it's a 3-in-1 punch to your health, which in a good way, a good punch, as my kids would say, there's bad punches and good punches. No, but anyway.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, thank
it's
you.
So good, yeah.
Yeah, so this is when I touched on, the fact that you might have sugar cravings if you have a gut health issue. Candida yeast is usually one of the biggest contributing causes of that. Like, I was somebody who was doing all the right things, quote, right things in my health, or except for having a mean sweet tooth. So I would eat clean like all day long and I would exercise every day. But gosh, after my kids went to bed, a mean sweet tooth would come. And it was like a need. I'd be crabby if I didn't get something. And for the longest time, it was kind of an area of shame for me. I thought, my word, is my willpower that terrible? I have no self-discipline. I was kind of ashamed about that. And oh my gosh, a big bowl of ice cream. And literally anything sweet that I could find in the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a variety of things. If the kids had birthday cake or brownies or whatever, we were making,
Yeah, stuff.
I love to bake because then I'd have something in the house to satisfy that craving, you
Yeah.
know?
I had a mom stash. It was in my underwear drawer. My 4 boys wouldn't find it, and if they did, they wouldn't touch it. It was mine. Mama says, don't touch it. And that was me too, very, very clearly. And I eat clean, I work out, but in the mind, I felt like I was just so weak, and it is not a mind issue.
No.
It's not a willpower. That's where we get condemnation and shame from when we say our mind is weak. It's this talking.
Yeah.
And when you balance that out, it becomes the yeasty beasties, not slain so much, but as under control, kind of in prison, docile, calm, so that
funny.
Yeah.
you don't claim
My-
the.
My
Yeah,
girls
we're
in
good.
my running
Exactly.
group, we would always say, let's run 8 so we can eat. Like, we
Yeah.
would run to eat. And what we weren't eating good stuff. We were like, oh, this will justify the donut I had this morning or the whatever. And
Everything in moderation. It's not like this
Right.
is going to
Right.
cure you of absolutely every sugar craving you're ever going to have. But I think it regulates it enough so that you enjoy it as a treat, as it's meant to be, not a whole meal.
Agree. Very, very.
Or it gives you,
I've done it.
Yeah.
or it gives you control
Bless
where
the
you
Lord,
can say,
no more.
I don't need that today.
It does. It kind
Yeah.
of makes you think twice of like, wow, maybe I don't
Mhm.
really want or need that. But there is a physiological reason, and there's a physiological imbalance in your body that's contributing to these things that are making your body cry out for these things. So I just wanted to encourage you with that. For me, that was a real area of freedom, honestly. So let's go ahead and we'll transition, last but not least, into BioCleanse for right now. And as you can see, we have a variety of things here. I might touch on the vitamin a little bit, but this is the last main piece I want to cover. So BioCleanse, a lot of people are like, wait, she said cleanse, and they get a little bit nervous about what I'm talking about. It's not what you're thinking. This is just a very gentle daily way to keep your system, your digestive system, moving efficiently and regularly. Most people think that they're regular in the bathroom if they're going, once a day, maybe every other day. That's not regular. Our bodies were created to be going, number 2, anywhere between 1 and 3 times a day, technically every time we eat a meal. And so the problem is if things are not moving through our digestive system very consistently, we are basically storing toxins in our body that we really don't want to. And so that can contribute to inflammation. So our body's ability to go number 2 regularly is actually a really important part of our health. A lot of people don't like to talk about it. We talk about it all the time. We celebrate it. So, because it does make a huge difference for people. So the main ingredient in BioCleanse is magnesium. It's a very natural digestive relaxant, okay? But magnesium is also known as a relaxation mineral, and it's needed for well over 300 metabolic processes in our body. Most people are deficient in magnesium. It's very hard to get the amount that we need from our diet. So many things are fortified with calcium, and we use magnesium every time we are trying to process calcium in our body. So a lot of people end up deficient and have no idea. So very important for things like mood regulation and sleep. And of course, like people who get Charlie horses and cramping in their legs, a lot of times it's being deficient in magnesium. And then of course, getting constipated or backed up in the bathroom. Okay.
Is the magnesium
Mhm.
glycinate, citrate, or,
Good question. So it's magnesium hydroxide
okay,
in this particular one. And what's really interesting about the reason that they use that along with a little bit of sodium bicarbonate is when that reaches your gut, it basically results in a chemical reaction that causes oxygenation. So it has a very cleansing effect on your intestines. Oxygenation also in the body is just so important because a lot of diseases and bacteria like to thrive in a very low oxygenated environment or very acidic. So if we are helping to keep our body a little bit more on the alkaline side and really contributing to the oxygenation, that also is just going to have positive effects for your overall immunity and health. So it's another really neat supplement. There's also vitamin C in here. So you're getting a boost of that with it. I believe the reason, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, that they put vitamin C is because magnesium absorbs better in the presence of vitamin C. Is
And
that
it
right?
creates that acidic reaction as well, helping
Thank
the
you.
oxygenation process. It's like scrubbing bubbles.
Yeah.
So if you think of this getting into your gut and kind of not carbonating so
Mhm.
much, but like when you spray scrubbing bubbles, it's blue and then it turns white and then it starts to leach down in your shower, taking with it all junk and gunk. Very similar to what that does in your digestive tract too.
Yeah, thank
Because
you.
that's its job, is to clean out every single layer that's built up over time. Anything chemical that we either ingest or absorb through our skin, you think about that over a lifetime, gets housed, as Susie said, in your digestive tract. But then it happens daily, compounding over time. And what this product thankfully does is get at every single toxic layer. May take a year over time, depending on how toxic you are. I was pretty toxic. Took a while for me, but it got at every single layer, and that impedes your body's natural healing abilities, because so much, as we've heard tonight, it happens in our digestive tract, and if it's sick, it's impeded in any way, which the toxicity levels do, then you can't overall be healthy, happy, immune system functioning, digestive tract going. I mean, all the things. And so that's a really important supplement.
Yeah,
The
for
other
sure.
piece I would add to that is, you didn't know this about me either, but I actually went to school for nursing before I went to school for teaching, and had to take anatomy and physiology. And so there is a process with muscle contraction, and magnesium and calcium, when they come together, they help your muscles contract. So one of the things we often recommend this for is people who have leg spasms at night, because it relaxes those muscles so they can do their rest while the calcium builds. That, helps build your bones and helps everything get ready to move. The magnesium works to let it
It
relax.
helps your muscles to recover. So
And
if you're
recover.
a marathon runner,
Yep.
or a person who likes to run, or
Or if you're lifting
work
weights
out,
and you're
or-
sore, or,
yeah,
Yeah.
it really does help. with
Yes,
muscle
good
recovery.
point. Thank you. Yeah, so that is these two supplements in a nutshell. So I always like to think of Probio 5 like you're scrubbing the toilet, right? You gotta break things down first, and then BioCleanse comes through to kind of flush things out, right? We don't want that stuff to sit in there. If we've done all the hard work of cleaning and breaking things down, we don't want it to sit in our gut any longer than it needs to, because toxins can get reabsorbed as they're broken down. If we're doing all the good breakdown work, we don't want those things to sit in our body too long, to just get reabsorbed and continue that cycle. Okay, so that's how those two pair together. We like to kind of like PB&J, right? So
You
Do
take
you
them
want-
at the same time?
good question. So again, we can individualize that a little bit based on, your daily schedule, how quickly your body metabolizes magnesium. Probio 5 is always a bedtime supplement. That's because it does its best work on a mostly empty stomach. The digestive enzymes like a little bit of food, but not tons of food. That's going to really compete with what they're trying to do. So that's why this one's beneficial, be able to sit in your gut overnight. BioCleanse, a lot of people will take that first thing in the morning, but it can be taken really anytime during the day. And usually that's something that we just figure out with you on an individual basis, based on when you might prefer to use the bathroom. Because you will find that you will probably get on a pretty consistent schedule when you know you're going to take your supplements, and then we can expect to be visiting the bathroom, which is actually really nice. So it's just something that we work together with people to figure out what's going to be the best for them.
And they pair safely with
Mhm.
almost every single medication out there, unless on your prescription bottle it says must not take with magnesium or chromium or something along those lines. Thyroid medication, my husband has a hypothyroid condition, borderline Hashimoto's. He has a synthroid that he takes levodopa in the morning, can't be taken with food or drinking anything, so he just takes his supplements at lunch. I mean, he can still take it, we just separate it out. So I took 6 medications prior to taking Plexus, and all of them fit with these particular products. I no longer take those medications I took for decades. I was able to wean off of them. So that's the goal, but it's never a cold turkey situation. So we always tell people whatever you're comfortable with, whatever your doctor would recommend you doing. This doesn't take the place of that, but it certainly can in the long run when you've been on the products consistently for a long amount of time.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to give Sarah time and space here too to share a little bit of her story
Yeah.
as we are starting to get ready to bring things to a bit of a close before,
Yeah.
well, plenty of time for questions, you guys. You do not have to rush out of here by any means. But the very last thing I'm going to touch on before I hand things over to Sarah would be one more supplement. I do think it's well worth mentioning. Most people are on or have been on some type of multivitamin. And so I think it's really valuable to educate you on what are the differences between a vitamin that you might get at one of the big box stores, for example. Okay, your typical, maybe your one a day or something like that. And then why is this one different? And why should you maybe consider something along these lines instead? And it definitely comes down to the kind of ingredients that it contains. So a lot of vitamins, if you're not paying attention, they will be in a synthetic form, meaning man-made, or they're in a form that your body still has to do a lot of breakdown work to even get it to the point where it's in a state where it can be absorbed and used by your body. Okay. What I absolutely love about X Factor Plus is that it's a completely bioavailable multivitamin and mineral supplement. So it's a very complete multivitamin. It also has a lot of trace minerals that are very, very difficult for us to get enough from the foods that we eat nowadays. So what's the big deal about something being in a bioavailable form is the absorption piece. Okay. There is actually a quite large percentage of our population that have a gene mutation known as the MTHFR gene mutation. Okay. Okay. And so what that means is that category of people have a very hard time breaking down certain nutrients so that they're in that absorbable form that their body can use. That's why we see quite a large number of people in the United States who they might look like they're at a regular weight. Someone might be overweight, but yet they're malnourished. Their hair is falling out, or their nails are breaking, or whatever it may be. Their immunity is terrible, or they're getting the low labs that they, are low in all of these things and have no idea why. Often it's that mutation that's contributing because they cannot convert, one form of a vitamin into the form of the vitamin that they need to be able to absorb. So folate is one example. We need the methylated folate. That's the kind that our body can absorb and use. So that's just one example of what's in here. Okay. So it makes a huge, huge difference. So whether or not you have that gene mutation or not, you know that if you're taking this form of a vitamin, your body can use it. Okay. Really cool too. Side note, it contains aloe. Aloe is pretty fascinating when it comes to health. Not only is it very soothing and healing for your GI tract, and it kind of helps create a more beneficial environment for good gut bacteria to thrive, tongue twister. It can also help improve the absorption of certain nutrients by up to 300% when it's in its presence. So Plexus, being very mindful of how they put ingredients together, added aloe into this to continue to enhance the absorption. Okay, so just a pretty cool supplement.
It really helps, I think, the products in the triplex especially to work smarter, not harder. Because if you're working against vitamin deficiencies, plugging those in is just going to make those products work that much more effectively in your digestive tract. So
Yeah.
It's really important to have that as your foundation. But I'll keep this really
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, 'cause
short.
Otherwise,
I mean,
if you're already talking about that, I also thought, I thought we could quick just bring up lean as a meal replacement because it has some
Oh,
of those
yeah.
bioavailable vitamins
Yep.
inside of it. And I know that some of you were saying, oh, the slim is just like before you eat or whatever. It's not a meal replacement. Plexus does have meal replacements.
it's
And
yummy.
they come in the form of lean, and it comes in chocolate or vanilla. It also comes in whey, or it comes in plant. What am I
Vegan.
looking for?
Vegan.
Vegan, thank you.
Mhm.
Vegan form, and actually they're really good. I've never been a shake person ever, and now I drink one of these every single morning. I really like them, and they just have so many great vitamins and minerals inside of here too that you can make sure that when you're drinking this, you are getting in your day. If you're not taking
15
the
grams
vitamin.
of protein, yeah. So it's really,
Would you
my
take
kids
both
like
of
it.
them together? Or would you do one or the other?
I always take slim every single day. I don't always do lean every single day.
No, but I meant the lean or the multivitamin.
vitamins.
Oh,
Yeah.
very
I would-
good question.
You would do both?
Yeah.
I do the multivitamin every day. I didn't start that way, but I do now, and I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and my nails and my energy levels for sure. Just because I think that once I cleaned out my gut and got those vitamins absorbing better in my gut, it's it's so much better. I don't know, I can't explain it except for I am under a lot of stress and
Mhm.
I don't feel the way I felt last fall when I was teaching at this time and I wasn't on any products.
So you do both.
Mhm. I would love to just start with questions. You've been given a lot of information. It's just germinating in your minds. And so I would just love to answer questions that you might have. I came to these products very sick. You would have looked at me. I look the same today that I did back then when I started Plexus 5.5 years ago. And I hid it very well. I did not tell a lot of people that I was as sick as I was. I had anxiety, IBS, insomnia. I was tired all the time. I couldn't think clearly. I had a lot of brain fog. I was very thin. I worked out a lot. I ate clean. Very similar to Susie's story. Blood work always just immaculate. Doctors couldn't even believe that I was sick until I would tell them that I was very, very sick. And they would give me a pill. I'd walk away. I'd come back every 6 months to get checked, but absolutely nothing ever changed until these products came into my life. And I absolutely love each ingredient. I know the ingredients very well. And so just a little bit of my story, but I'd love to answer any questions that you have, because I think that would be beneficial at this time, just to have you walk away with everything answered so that we know where you're at and can help you. So
I'm curious who makes it. I mean, where is it made and what products are they using that makes that special from?
it's the
something else?
doctors on the advisory board. I think that's super important with this company that kind of sets it apart. The corporate headquarters are in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, about 15 minutes from my two oldest kids, which I love. My two kids are at Grand Canyon University in Scottsdale. My parents used to pick up their order right from there. My parents live right there. It's pretty cool that that's the headquarters for where they're at. They source their ingredients all over the world. So wherever they're going to find clean and renewable resources, that's what Plexus uses. But the combination of all of the products are because of their doctor advisory board, who are from Johns Hopkins, Harvard University. NASA, we have a doctor that was, that's on staff now, but used to work for NASA. And so they're very smart. They are very innovative. I think that's what sets us apart too. They're always looking for what new research is available. Again, as I alluded to at the beginning, we know more now because of what we can see. And so the technology to see it has allowed us to know that it's there and allowed us to compile what we know are important ingredients to help the health of our bodies in this way. Because this is standard for every human being. It's kind of like if we came with a manual, this is what our bodies need, is without question. And if we're not giving our body what it needs in these areas, that's why we have the problems that we have in the society with our health. And we're a sick country, unfortunately. We adopted our youngest son from Ethiopia. And when he came home to us, he was in pretty good health, but he had to have a slew of vaccines before he came home, which were the first medicines or anything that he would have encountered in his young life. When he got those vaccines, he came home to us pretty sick. And it's heartbreaking. I'm not anti-vax, but I am for our family. That was a choice for us, and he was our one and only that had to be. So that was challenging, and he came home with a lot of problems. And I do believe it was because of that. These products have helped him. And so it's pretty amazing. Every single person in my family has been helped in some way with some issue. That's been pretty significant. And it's happened, just these testimonies, and Liz's too, if she were to share. I mean, it's incredible. If you are consistent, if you give this time to work, because you didn't get your body in a state that it's in overnight. So it does take time for your body to heal. And if you troubleshoot the products. So up here, and how to take them, we help you to take the products according to your body's needs. So when you start to take these products, what are you seeing? We follow you, we track you, we are your cheerleaders, we are your accountability, we are your village, whatever that needs to be, we troubleshoot with you so that you don't just take these products, go home, and then figure this out on your own. I think that's another component that sets us apart, is that we help you to figure this out. Everybody who sticks this out is consistent every single day, everybody, and who listens to our advice with regard to troubleshooting sees success. So if you want that, it's available to you. It just takes time. I wish I had a crystal ball for everybody and could say, well, 6 months, 5 days, you're gonna see total restoration in your body. We don't claim that. Plexus doesn't cure anything. What this is body support. So your body is the wonderful and amazing tool that it is, beautiful, wonderfully made, but yet, we won't know what that will look like for each of you, but I can tell you, your life will be enhanced through your health if you take these products consistently, persistently, and with our help. So I'm a testament to that. Susie is, Kristen is, Liz is, almost 1 million ambassadors worldwide, same thing. So it's pretty amazing.
And we serve in other countries too, not just in the United States.
Right.
I've looked outside the box to see, like, do we go to England? Do we go,
Canada,
Yeah.
Mexico, New Zealand, Australia. Did I say Canada?
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, any other questions at all?
I'm curious for the ones that have their kids take that, slim, like as you know, Mally's got pretty severe eczema and,
That was, my 19-year-old as well.
yeah,
Mhm.
I just don't see her drinking that whole thing. And then, I mean, I can barely get her to drink a shake for breakfast before she gets to school.
Oh.
You know, like,
Yeah.
so how do you?
She's 9, so she would probably be on the kids' products for a little bit
Okay.
first. 'Cause
Yeah. Yeah.
There's Omega Kids that you can probably do in 6 to 8 ounces.
Okay.
It's like-
Actually, it says 4 to 6.
Yeah,
So it's a
because
very
there's
little.
toddlers that drink it, and same thing,
Okay.
they have to be able to get it down.
Yeah.
But we can individualize that
Yeah.
Okay.
for kids. You start, all of my kids really started with the triplex.
Okay.
And we just cut it in half
I
and
was gonna say, can you
started-
give her
Build it
half
up.
of it,
Yep,
or, you know,
absolutely.
like-
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and again, work in those little messenger chats through Facebook and how ways to communicate through email or through text. We support you through that. And you don't pay for that at all, which is really a great benefit. Just we care so much about these products. We care so much about the people taking them. We want you to see success. So we follow you and help. However you need it. I've had customers with me for 5.5 years on these products who just still love them and continue to take them. Our bodies haven't reset. That was a thing that I was worried about. Like I was skeptical even after I felt good, like, okay, am I going to just plateau and it's just not going to work for me anymore? But you're constantly tweaking and that helps because you're pushing your body or scaling back, pushing your body or scaling back. So, yep. And it's individualized, which I love too.
You recommended any other criteria besides just feeling good, like go get lab work or?
Absolutely. Yep. My husband with his thyroid condition has to have his blood work checked every 6 months. At the 12-month mark, it started to change a little, but it was by the 18-month blood work that his doctor actually wrote him a prescription for these products because the proof was truly in his blood work numbers for that. He'll always be on his Synthroid. He's pretty severe, but it has dropped dramatically to the point where she wrote us a prescription for that and we pay for the products through our HSA. It's pretty cool.
Only if you can get a doctor's.
Yes, because you can
She
get
does too.
audited.
I know, same
We have
thing.
HSA.
Yeah.
My mom has MS and she went on these products because of the inflammation piece to it. If you know much about MS, it's inflamed through the nervous system. And her doctor said,
she said, I've been taking these products. She's like, well, I'll write you a script, keep taking them.
Yeah.
You gotta start with, the first time I went into her, and this is the nurse practitioner that I'm seeing now because my doctor retired. So I've got this new doctor that I haven't even met yet, but I still see the nurse practitioner from my old doctor. And she said, guess what? We're studying gut health and we're into this, and I think you need to go on a gluten-free diet because you need to reduce your inflammation, da, da, da. And I said, well, funny you should say that because I'm about to start taking these products called Plexus. She goes, I've heard of those. And so 6 months later, I go back in and I said, they're really helping me. Is there a way that I can have you write a letter to my insurance company so that they'll cover it under my Flex account? She goes, absolutely.
Yep.
Now, what she had to do was she had to say why I was taking it and for what reason. And because she said that, I called the insurance, or my husband called the insurance, and they said, yes, this is covered now.
Yep.
You can pay for this with your Flex account.
Yep.
It's like, awesome.
Yeah. And I actually have a prescription, like on a script pad from my husband's doctor. So she just rewrites it every year that his blood work gets checked. And she herself is a customer. She has celiac disease. And so she has just been, and she's sent tremendous amount of people my way just because she knows herself what a great gift her health change has been. So pretty amazing. And that's just the standard. I mean, that's just the foundation. Then there are 28 or 29, I lose track because they come out with new products all the time. But I mean, there's greens for nutrition. There's skincare for clean skincare. Collagen, which is part of the skincare line, which is the Vital Biome, which is another one for mood regulation. It's a probiotic that you can add on to. So really the foundation is the triplex. That's kind of like the good place to start. The better place to start is like the triplex plus the vitamin and all the essential like vitamin gap fillers so that you can help the products to work smarter, not harder. And then kind of all in would be just kind of like all in. You pick out one of maybe the big welcome packs. All of the products come in a welcome pack combination that best suits where you want to go and where you want to take it. So weight loss, skincare, gut health, nutrition, whatever is your desire, you can start there and add on. But once you have the membership, you just customize what you want to have sent every month. And maybe you want to try the skincare, you get rewarded with free products every couple of months. It's a pretty amazing program. Used to buy my supplements at a health food store, and I would go in month after month after month, and they wouldn't know who I was. They wouldn't say hello a lot of times, and they wouldn't definitely say, oh my goodness, you just came back another month. Let's give you 15% off or a free product. They would never say that. But with this, because it's your own website, they do reward you quite handsomely for being a customer. So it's pretty amazing. You can make a lot of money back and a good amount of savings on your products by having your own website. So that's it.
Any other questions?
Oh, did you say that too?
We're on the same wavelength. And but like we said earlier, don't feel like you have to rush off at all. If you want to take a look at some of the bottles, if you want to sit down with one of us individually and just ask questions about, what specifically is going on in your health and maybe what we would recommend, we can do that. We do have several more samples. We're happy to mix up like
some of this up.
okay, like the greens. I don't think I'll mix up the active energy drinks because I want you to all sleep well tonight. But yeah, if there's anything that you're curious about, we can definitely answer your questions. But I just really want to say thank you so much for your time and just your great questions. We do really hope this was helpful to you tonight. And I would love to do just a few giveaways if you're up for that. Let me see what I've got here. Got some goodies. Did anyone put their name in the jar at all, or no? Did you not get around with that? If not,
told us to.
that's I'm sorry. I maybe did. Maybe thought I did at the beginning, but
You didn't read the
so
sign.
let's.
It was on the sign when you walked in.
Okay.
No worries. No worries.
I mean, I can.
I can give a sticky note if you want, if you want to put their name on it, your drawing, or what do you want to do?
Yeah. Here. How about we'll just quick. Don't feel like you've got to fill out all the info. Just
Alright.
put your name on there
Okay.
and we'll just do a quick one.
Yeah. A lot of people will simplify and just.
Oh,
take this instead because they work with other people.
Where did I see that the other day?
The bioavailability.
How are you doing?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, because I didn't until I tried it and I was like, yeah, I do know some stuff. She asked a really good question. She was saying like, how do I know like regular magnesium, regular vitamin D and all of that isn't doing its job compared to like the vitamins and plexus.
Oh, gotcha. Probably just depends on.
Okay, let me try some of this.
Now in your health, like, you know.
These are
for
greens.
example,
People hate
if you
greens.
talk about magnesium, are you
But
having
these actually taste good.
muscle spasms? Do you feel like-
Oh, yeah, we can tell you that. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Curious.
Are you?
It's not bad.
It got a little grit to it and the bottom, so I don't know, because there is some herbs in the bottom too, but.
Now, what exactly
Is this like
This is
another
like-
type of vitamin?
This is,
I started out with a very large.
you want to get all
amount
your
of
greens,
taking
all your
4,000
greens and vegetables in a day.
Sounds
Okay.
fine. I know people who
I
take
see
it
a lot
all
of people mix
And
this
my-
with.
Yeah.
all kinds
my-
of
You
my
different-
can, they, every
doctor
single
said,
plexus
the
product
same
is
nurse
made,
practitioner.
so you can mix it with other flavors and other products in case you're one that's like.
You never did
down.
Yeah, that's not covered.
Well,
And I
just
said,
like,
okay, let's.
look it up more, but
You
yeah.
wanna try some?
blood.
Leave it
Yeah.
your vegetables.
It's great, like, it's
It
only
really
a
goes
little
with
bit.
texture.
It is a little
It does do really well like
Who
a
has
something with texture,
Oh.
but for greens,
It's
it's
good. I mean, it doesn't taste bad, it's just the gritty that you
Yes,
do.
it is. It's the gritty that kind of makes you go,
I was
okay.
Yeah, probably
No,
enough
Plus I
lean
was
protein.
tanning because I was in Florida for a time. In the
No,
sun, you
okay.
can vitamin D as well.
Oh,
She
yeah.
said,
Still has to
"You
be
get
going.
10 minutes
Okay, I think I have
suntan
everyone's
every day."
right.
And my battery's low,
But we're gonna put it in.